box.
All right. We are live. Hello, welcome to the show. This is the Zooming Who's podcast, and I'm your host, Dustin Husky.
I'm your co-host today, Wolf.
Hello, Wolf. Thanks for coming over again after quite a long break.
It's only been 6 or 7 months.
It feels that long. Apparently, the last time we did one of these things was May or something like that, which I thought we haven't done one in about probably 10 months, maybe. I'm not sure. But I figured, hey, let's do a podcast. Let's do something different. Let's actually catch up with stuff. So, what are we doing next weekend?
Next weekend is Aquatifer.
Yes, and guess who's actually going?
You're finally going.
I'm actually finally
You're
going.
finally going. It's not just pulling a farm and saying, oh yeah, I'm totally going. And then all of a sudden just not go.
I have been saying this for years that I'd probably go.
Literally since it first started.
Right.
How long ago was that? 2017?
Well, 2017, I wasn't sure if I was going. Then I saw that, a lot of people had funds. Like, okay, well, maybe I'll look into 2018. And 2018 kind of comes around, and I'm not sure what I was doing in 2018. So I decided, 2018, I said I would actually go. And then I think...
Aren't you working that new job?
I was working that new job, and I wasn't sure if I could get the time off. Oh, no. Yeah, I was still working my old job, and I was still working weekends. So 2018, I couldn't go because I was transitioning from my old job to my old job. So 2018 couldn't happen because I was still working that weekend. And I think I also went to a wedding too.
Ouch.
So I couldn't go. Then 2019, I was really interested in wanting to go for a day or two, maybe sleep in my car. Then I decided to be an adult, and I bought myself a newer car. To then find out that I was actually $400 short of where I thought I was because of a misplaced check. So I ended up I'm actually kind of broke right now. Then I kind of told you, hey, I can't go. Why is that? I have legitimately $1 to my name this weekend until I get paid in 2 weeks. And they're like, come on, man. You said you were going to go. I was like, ah. And then pandemic happened.
Yeah.
So 2020 never happened. I think 2021 happened.
2020? What? What's this 2020?
Feels like so.
The whole world just kind of went on pause.
Yeah.
This is 2020 or 2020B.
Yeah.
Or 2021 was, and this is now just 21. 21.
And to think that next year is 2023. I am hoping things normalize to a point where it feels normal, which, given the start of this pandemic, things are pretty normal, would you say?
Yeah.
For the most... In fact, I went to a bar out in Milwaukee with some friends, with some locals, had a burger, and I had a good time. And you know what? It feels good to do that.
Who's Cadborg?
What's that?
Who's Cadborg?
Is that the person I'm thinking?
No. Oh. Who's Cadborg? You had a burger.
Oh.
You forgot your own lingo.
Yeah. So it's strange to think that around 2 years ago we'd be still on somewhat partial lockdown of you were only really hanging out with your family and maybe one or two friends, which for most of the whole pandemic it was just mostly having you, Lilia, over. That was actually kind of it. You and Lilia were really the only ones that ever had been over.
Yeah.
And maybe a few others. Beyond that, I actually kind of shut myself out.
No events were happening. Everything went virtual.
So Aquatifer in 2020 didn't happen. I think it happened in 2021.
It did.
Which I didn't go to it for some reason. I didn't have vacation.
Yeah, that was the last one that was run by the former group that we will not speak of.
Yeah, and because earlier in the year that we don't speak of the impending shitstorm, which we may have actually talked about it in an earlier podcast. So why don't you actually go look back and you'll probably learn more. So much so, who knows? I might maybe go back to that podcast to remember what the fuck was going on. Actually, I don't really look at any of these older podcasts. I just kind of
Hey, me neither. I never look at my old videos.
no.
I play like the first second and then I hear my voice and I'm like, nope.
Also, too, I have no idea if anyone's actually listening to us. Because we're actually going off on the computer
It's just
speaker.
No, I did a test.
What's that?
I played it on my phone.
Oh, really?
Yep, it works.
Really?
It works.
So we're not sure if this guy works anymore. I'm not entirely. This guy works.
See?
Hello. Hello.
I think it's just picking it off on that, but
Hello.
it's like a bit of a delay.
Oh, cool. Yeah, somehow doesn't work right now, so I'm not entirely sure what's
Time to get Hoosk new microphone.
to get new equipment. So I'm finally going to Aquatifer. I'm actually genuinely excited. I have a room. I'm actually committed this time. I have reserved a room. I have 3 other roommates that I have to actually be there so they have a place to stay. So not only am I committed, I can't back out. So yes, finally I'm actually going. And I am hoping to get really hoping to get suits back because I gave my suits to my maker to do renovations because my eyes started to bleed and
your eyes started to bleed? Like the ink was starting to
yeah.
Okay.
It was not only both fading, but it was also starting to bleed across the mesh.
I legitimately thought like you were talking like it just became possessed. It's like, I mean, it is Halloween.
It is Halloween.
But
It'd be appropriate.
Bleeding?
But my maker had on their recommendation, they said, "Hey, why don't you bring your heads over? We'll give you new eyes. Been wanting to do it for you anyway, with waterproof mesh." So it's like, okay. Then I made a mention on Twitter that my fursuit, my bodysuits don't fit me too well because of my shoulders. They gotten a little more muscly, so they've also decided to take that on as well to get it adjusted and such. So I'm just hoping that I get them back because yeah, I'm a bit antsy of wanting to be Hoosk again because it seems
literally got a week left.
Yeah, and I really hope that they pull through.
You might have to probably message them later tonight.
I may have to just lightly bug them and say, "Hey, are we
any
so good?"
Any updates?
Yeah, because otherwise, I would just kind of like to know that if it's not going to get done, at least okay, I can expect that, and all is good, and I don't have to worry about that. But yeah, I probably should get an update if things are going well. It was sad because yes, IFC happened. I went to IFC in August. That's the first con as a fursuiter I have gone to since. No,
really?
Let me actually redo that. IFC 2022 is the first con I've been to. That I've been going to. Hey there, Alpha. First con without a fursuit as a fursuiter.
You didn't go to First Squared at all?
I did go to First Squared in
Just
suit.
not-
It was IFC this past August. Did I go for the very first time without a suit?
Okay, I misheard you. I thought this was like your first con back since COVID to actually wear a suit. I'm like, that ain't right. I totally saw you in suit.
And so much so that I somehow was a dumbass to leave both my tails in the bin because my fursuit maker, because I brought all my stuff in my fursuit bin, so all my parts are in that bin. Well, they had mentioned, hey, you can leave your bin here. That's okay. I'm like, okay. But I didn't think about bringing my tails out because I thought it wouldn't take too long or something else. But then I didn't even have a tail for IFC, which is even more strange because normally, if anything, I'm walking around in my tail.
You just had it snipped off like most like house dogs. No fun wags. It's only sad wags.
Only one person at IFC the entire weekend recognized me. Besides a few, it was Nitro Husky, and I don't know if it was his mate or a good friend of his.
You didn't see Toon?
I did. Well, obviously, I did see Toon, and he recognized me too. So actually, there were a few. But all the people that normally would recognize me only knew me in suit. So me being out of suit the entire weekend was alien because no one ever recognized me. And since I never would pop my head off, well, I don't often enough do that, but it was so sad. No one ever said hi or looked at my badge. I didn't even have the tail to say, "Oh, hey, it's Dustin," because people can recognize you by the tail that you have for your Sona. So it's like, "Oh, that's Dustin's tail, so this must be Dustin." Nope, I didn't even have that, so I was totally anonymous the whole weekend.
I just remembered.
Besides a few people.
Just remember when you mentioned badge, I immediately thought, "Oh shit, that's right. Somebody has to give me my badges back next week."
Badge is back.
Yeah, when this kind of is like one of the things we were going to talk about. I went down to Chicago last week.
Let us talk about good old Windy City.
We wanted to initially. What we were going to do is we were going to take like a pilgrimage, and I'm going to refer to it as like that now because almost every fursuiter, especially in the Midwest that I know, always goes to the Bean. Has to get fursuit photos by the Bean.
How did you get there?
Train. I actually took the metro this time.
And how did you like it?
I think that's going to be my go-to preferred method from this point out because there is no way in hell I'm driving in that fucking city again.
Damn right. Damn right. That's like the only preferred way I will ever travel to Chicago if I'm going for a day. Just to have some fun, I will take the metro.
They're actually not bad. The only thing that I really need to do or brush up on is parking.
Yeah.
Because I have no idea where in Kenosha I can park for more than 2 days. Or for more than a day.
And I wonder if the adjacent parking garage that's about 7 minutes away from the station and their parking lot, because the metro parking lot is big enough, but too small.
It's too small, and they charge you daily.
And the metro parking lot, you really have to be there almost very early to get a spot. So if you are there by 10 o'clock, there are no spots left. But the parking garage is a 3-story parking garage that you can pay daily. However, I don't know. They also have a weekend pass or something like that, but you got to pay for 3 days, like Friday and a Sunday. It's like $15. It's like $5 a day, which actually honestly is pretty cheap if you think about it. But you pay $15, but you're going to waste a day perhaps. But that's kind of the way to, well, I mean, that's how the cookie crumbles. Sometimes you're going to have to overpay to really guarantee that you're not going to get towed or get a ticket.
Yeah, and that's the only
that's really the sucky part about parking in Kenosha. There are 3 parking garages in Kenosha. They even there used to be 2. They built a brand new one just to say we have more parking.
Don't you mean Kenosha?
Kenosha or Cape Town or Kenowhere?
Kenowhere. Nah, so we go down there. That was the original plan, but then we realized, oh wait, there's a fur meet going on at the Brookfield Zoo. Okay. So we decided we're going to go and do that as well. I invited Keck along because he wasn't doing anything that weekend. So we take the train down. It was great. The only downside was that we had to get there early, but makes sense because you're going to Chicago. So we get there, we hang about for a little bit. Then we went and saw the new Halloween movie, which wasn't great, but wasn't terrible. And no, it was not radioactive.
Would you like to? I know we're bouncing between topics, or maybe we can talk about Halloween.
The movie.
Later. We could probably talk about.
Well, yeah. Well, it was just part of the whole story, and then eventually we go back, and the back part was really interesting because that's when you got the night crowd show up on this bus. So
it gets weird on the night train.
Not only was it really bizarre, but I had my ticket, my e-ticket at the ready for the conductor to look. Mm-hmm. Never saw my ticket,
and that's on your phone, right?
Yeah,
because I think. Do they do paper tickets anymore?
They still have to look at it because how can they tell if it's a screenshot or not? So you have to actually open the app. You got to tap a certain button and then it'll do like a thing and it'll be like, all right, we know that that's legit. Have a good one. So because of that, like for whatever reason, he decides not to check our tickets. And we rode the whole train back without ever getting our tickets looked at.
You were almost better off not buying the ticket.
Well, that part and in the morning on our way back, like to there, they definitely checked.
Right. Yeah.
But this
on
was
the
like
way back.
Well, it's a weekend pass. You only buy one ticket. It's good for like the whole day.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Because Metro be smart about it.
I would love to have Metro come further north, like either to like Racine or Milwaukee.
There are connecting trains. You just have to board another train and buy the ticket.
That's
you
that's
can, I think, buy it on the app.
I know it's like I think it's like the Amtrak that you can take from Milwaukee Intermodal to the metro station, and then you just transfer from there. It would be nice if one day the metro says, "Hey, Milwaukee, would you like a substation by you?" Just to say, "Hey, Milwaukeeans, you can now come to Chicago," which honestly, I would like that. Not to say that I don't like Kenosha. I will still go down to Kenosha because it's metro, but if there was a chance to take the train all the way to Milwaukee.
Yeah. So, and the trip back was really interesting because there was a guy in the back who had like a value pack of Heineken with him. And
what qualifies a value pack?
I think it was like more than 6.
Oh, okay.
So like I don't exactly know what the standard is like in the US, like how many that is. I'm going to take a shot in the dark and say 10.
Okay, because I know like the standard pack is for like a glass bottle is 6.
Yeah, it wasn't a 6-pack.
Oh, okay.
This is like that big box thing that you carry.
You got a big box.
Yeah, so he's talking to this guy behind us, asking him, like, "Where'd you get your plaid? Really like your plaid." He's like, "That's a real power move right there, wearing a plaid and vest." And then the guy responds back, he's like, "No, the real power move is you drinking a Heineken on this thing." He literally had open bottle alcohol in the train.
In public transportation.
Yeah, which I'm almost certain is not legal.
No.
So then he's like, "Well, would you like one?" And he's like, "No, I'm good." And he's like, "Why don't you hand it to the guy in front?" That person in front was me, so I got a free Heineken. And all I could think was, is like, well, I don't want to be rude, and I don't want to just not like take it and not drink it.
Right.
So I kind of popped it, but like the back of my head as I was like drinking this thing is like, I'm almost certain this is not legal. I gotta finish this right away and then hide it in my camera bag so they don't see the open bottle. This dude was already 2 bottles in.
Heineken's not a strong beer.
No, but he was like 2 bottles in.
You know what? That's the bigger picture. That man was already sloshed before he was even on the train. So he probably had 2 value packs.
He got off work.
Oh my god. that is asking far too many questions. This man probably had 2 value packs. Finished 10.
Well, he was sober
started on 2 more. That might get you shit faced.
He was certainly sober enough to walk. He wasn't like wobbling on his way out the train because he actually stopped in Waukegan before we did. But
he must be like a level 15 drinker at that point.
All I was thinking was, "Thank you, Heineken man, for giving me a free Heineken." And then
that is pretty cool.
And then at that point, after we let everybody know that we all made it to our respective homes and stuff, I got a message from the local that we were hanging out with down there. Turns out I left my badges in his car.
Like your
my combat, like my art badges and stuff. And I'm like, well, I'll see him next week. I'll see him 2 weeks from now. I know they're in good paws.
You know what? It sucks to lose something. However, if they are with someone, there's a big sigh of relief that, okay, well, I'm not totally screwed.
Yeah.
It sucks that you don't have them. It's cool that your homie's like, "Hey, I got them. I'll hold on to them."
Yeah.
So that's actually pretty nice.
So let's see what else was on the talking or the conversation chopping block today. Do you want to talk about Ukraine next?
Sure. So it's been it's been a while since we had a chat about Ukraine, and back in May,
almost a full year now.
Oh yeah. And back in May, things looked a little better for Ukraine, but maybe a little bleak. And then now suddenly, lately, Ukraine's been kicking ass.
Yeah,
they've been kicking a lot of ass.
The kick it. Russia likes to eat ass, apparently.
I eat ass. I eat a lot of ass.
But
I eat ass. I eat a lot of ass.
I don't think you understand.
I
eat a lot of ass. No, but jokes aside, we hope that this thing ends soon, because neither side is really
actually benefiting from anything, especially Ukraine being invaded on their sovereign soil, and also more annexed territories by Russia.
Oh yeah, they've already declared martial law in those areas now. The areas that Russia's gradually starting to lose control of,
and evacuating people from. In some places,
we'll not call it evacuation. We call it relocation.
Yeah,
send them to Russia.
Some of them are Russians, so they're just gonna just relocate there and likely never come back.
Yeah.
But some of those people are Ukrainian, and no one knows where they're gonna go. So that's actually kind of terrifying for them.
They're also now forcing those same people to conscript into the Russian military. So then people are like saying, so you really just want to turn this into a Ukrainian versus Ukrainian scenario?
There is no blue-blooded Ukrainian that's going to like fight another Ukrainian. In fact, they would probably still travel westward just to say, "Hey, fuck those guys. We're going into Ukraine proper."
It does bring a bit, like, a lot of questions are now starting to pop up, like, what's this upcoming winter going to be like?
Yeah, especially, well, not just in Europe, but since Russia's been hitting the crap out of Ukrainian infrastructure, such as water pump facilities, electrical generation, and of course, sources that either provide or transport heating supplies, such as natural gas.
Trying to hit internet too.
And trying to hit internet. Oh, God.
Trying to prevent the spread of misinformation from outside the country.
For such a special military operation, it's quite a quagmire.
Yeah, we, like, a friend of mine and I was talking to a guy that I work with. He's been deployed to both Iraq and Afghanistan. We were both reminiscing on our favorite video games. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 came up.
Mm-hmm.
The overall plot was that, Russia comes in after their president goes missing, invades almost all of Europe, but just stops shy of Paris.
Oh.
Or stops at Paris.
I mean, technically, historically, the Russians were wanting to go as far west as Paris.
Oh yeah.
If there ever was a conventional war, the idea was to overrun Germany in 2 or 3 days, and then try to hit the French border on the 3rd or 4th day, and then by the end of the week be somewhere halfway through France, meaning Paris would have also been taken. So
it's just kind of bizarre, because when we were talking about that, we came to the realization, is like, yeah, knowing what we know now about the whole Russo-Ukrainian conflict, there is no way, logically speaking, that they would be able to actually sweep over the entire continent like it was portrayed in the game.
Right. Like, that is an actual contingency plan by the Russians, but the Russian military today is highly corrupt. Granted, in the Soviet Union, they had more structure, they had more accountability. However, there was still corruption in the officer corps. So you could still suddenly sell a box of hand grenades if you wanted to get a TV.
It's just now greatly escalated.
It's just now, hopefully, well, it's not over exaggerated. It's almost not blown out.
Yeah, maybe.
Like you have 400 tanks, and some guy in the middle of nowhere is like, "Hey, I got tank.
You have tank? I want tank.
I want money." So
then
rubles. So then all of a sudden he sells 5 tanks, but he still says, "Oh yeah, we've always had 400 tanks." Oh wait, well let me recount. Yeah, we've always had 400, and Hey, the Russians say, well, that this guy's got 400 tanks. We're not going to question him.
Yeah,
We're not going to question him.
I will say that there's some good, very insightful YouTube channels out there that are like occasionally talking about this sort of stuff. That if you want to learn more about the ongoing scenario and like situation that has been the USO, or I keep saying it wrong, the Russo-Ukrainian conflict. Um, Laser Pig and Anime Anarchy are actually really good channels talking about like all these different, hypotheticals. One of which actually used to work for the intelligence department in the British military.
Nice.
So he tends to do a lot more research than that. What's his face? That warlord dude who keeps thinking that Russian technology is far superior than his own American technology, and you're like,
There's no way.
bro, you're an artilleryman. You should know that these systems are better. What the fuck?
Russia buys software from the West to make sure that their equipment's on par. They can't even develop it on their own.
Yep.
But the interesting thing about, the Soviet Union, as it were, let's say at its major strength and motivation. So let's say late 60s, early 70s, maybe even late 70s before the invasion of Afghanistan, which once the invasion of Afghanistan happened, there was no way that the Russians would ever be that prepared for a Western Europe invasion or Western Central European invasion if one were to ever come, because they'd be so focused with Afghanistan at that time. They're Let's just say that all their marbles were not all there, and if something were to happen, they wouldn't be effective. But even still, knowing what the Russian army is doing today, I, I'm saying this very, very lightly, but the Russian army cannot even take over Ukraine. Nope. Because they're so badly equipped, so badly run, and so corrupt that their officers are actually more desk sitting pencil pushers that are going to call a lot of people asking if they want stuff at a reduced cost, but they're going to take all of the profit from it to put into their dachas and then sell artillery pieces to some backwater country.
Yep.
But then, that's okay. The Soviet Union, that probably would not have happened too often because there was a lot of eyes everywhere. But you have to also wonder too, Soviet Union, they still had the same level of corruption. They may have been a bit more effective, but seeing the Russian army today having a huge, huge hard time just to even get anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling that a Russian invasion across Western and Central Europe could be possible, but I think they would have been slugged down in Germany and they would not have advanced any further.
Yeah, probably.
I can see them getting to the German border, but they'd be pushed back.
Let's hope it doesn't go beyond Ukrainian borders, if possible.
In today's current times,
because I'm sure Europe doesn't want any more big wars.
No. And what's actually, well, I would not say funny, but it's interesting to think about when I was 16 in 2010, and I was taken to the French consulate in Chicago, and I was allowed to choose if I wanted to stay a Franco-American citizen, a French citizen entirely, or just be a regular American citizen. And I'm given that choice as a 16-year-old to choose either three.
You still both?
I'm still both. Which, if I choose Franco-American or just French, that's when the French military present, which none of us had actually said no, we'd be just American, because we could vote in both political systems.
Yeah, why not take advantage of the voting for both?
And I'm pretty active on the French political sphere, so why not? So the moment that we all said yes, that we'd stay, I think only one person voted French because they were going to be moving back to France anyway to be with family permanently. So I don't think it actually mattered to them if they were going to stay Franco-American, but most of us said Franco-American. That we were part of the first draftee group for any future conflict. That because now we were French speakers, and we've continued our French citizenship, we are now liable for the French draft, which is totally non-existent in the French army. However, the very thing that these French officers were talking about, because we had a NATO press conference sort of thing about, what all this is all about and such, and saying that, okay, this is now your draft number. We're given an identity card of when this number comes up, you are now fully drafted. And a few times I've actually been called up, but then when they realize I'm out of America, they say, well, this is just not likely. So we are rescinding your number just because logistically I'm too far away. But they did say this: if you were to ever be not just drafted, but now sent overseas, it is because we will have a war with Russia in Ukraine. That the next war in Europe, and they said this in July or June or July of 2010, that they predicted that there will be a conflict between Russia and Ukraine. The conflict will happen in Ukraine because Russia will be the aggressor.
Yeah.
But they didn't think about Crimea being the target.
Factor.
They figured that one region would say, hey, we want to switch sides to Russia. But they just figure that historically the Ukrainians and the Russians just don't get along. And they say that we would be actually kind of in a rough way of saying this. You're going to be trained cannon fodder, where we will train you the best we can, but your use on a actual battlefield is going to be so limited. You're just going to be reservists. So you may be sent, or you may be on the home front, actually taking the spot of an actual soldier, and you would just be doing logistical work while a conflict is going on.
Isn't bad.
And for much of those 9 years, it's a 9-year contract. So when I was 16 until I was 25, I could be called at any time.
And they didn't wait until you were 18?
No. At 16, in France, you could be conscripted for emergency service.
Huh.
Because in case shit hit the fan, of course the 18-year-olds go. But since we enacted our citizenship at 16, they figure, okay, well, you seem patriotic enough, so we're going to start you at 16. We were the first and only group in the French world to have a draft age of 16 within our sphere, because most of all of them were all 18. But because of that, we ended our draft period service early at 25 instead of 27. So technically, cool. I've been called up 3 times, and every time was like, oh yeah, you're too far away, so we really can't actually take you in. So it's like, okay, whatever. So seeing this war in Ukraine surprises me and doesn't surprise me, because when I was being told you might actually be fighting and we might be sending you to Ukraine for help. But then again, now as we're looking at the war, there's not a single NATO troop, no boot in Ukraine.
Nope. Because there would be dire consequences if there were.
But back in 2010, France was even saying, now if there was war, we may be sending a lot of troops just to quell the conflict so that it doesn't escalate. And now looking back on it, it's like they didn't do shit. Like in 2014, they didn't do much. And I kind of felt...
Wait, who, the French or...
Just maybe NATO. They did something.
There are a lot of factors we're probably not taking into account. We also didn't really know just how bad the Russian military was until this invasion. So
in 2014 or just recently?
Just recently. That's when we started to realize, maybe Russia isn't like the big bad bear that we thought them to be. I mean, yeah, they're still scary, don't get me wrong. But
they're not the efficient steamroller they claim themselves to be.
Yeah, based on everything that we saw, granted, the only outlier would probably be the first Chechen war.
Yeah.
We saw them as like, oh yeah, they're, very mobile. They've got all these tanks and stuff. They're running into all these places. Dagestan, Chechnya, the second time around. Georgia, and then
these are all countries that are small with a similar
ethnic background,
but also military that's also following the same Russian pattern of there's a lot of corruption. So that means their own militaries are not that effective either. So you're looking at a giant Russian steamroller literally pushing aside smaller armies that have no chance of ever repelling them, because even their best soldiers are not even well led.
Yeah.
You can have great soldiers, but without a competent officer corps who is willing to do their job efficiently and to do it for their country and not for themselves, your best soldiers are perfectly useless because you're not using them to the best of your abilities. Which in 2014 it was just Crimea and then Donbass. Now it's just they tried taking over an entire country.
Oh yeah,
and
Ukraine's stopping them.
Actually, Ukraine kicked a lot of ass.
Yeah.
And I'm so proud of them because you know what? It's much like the Finnish-Russian War, the Winter War. You know what? We did not expect at that point that Finland would actually hold on. But they did.
They also have to because their entire national identity is at stake.
Yeah.
So it's like if Russia stops fighting, there will be no war. But if Ukraine stops fighting, there will be no Ukraine. So not that fighting should happen, but in like the rare chance that it does end up happening, both sides have to find some way to end this fast with the least amount of bloodshed.
With Ukraine coming on top, because it has to be Ukraine coming on top, because they're the ones that have to actually make the score. Because otherwise, if Ukraine falls, then Russia's going to say, oh, look at this victory. All this bloodshed was all worth it. Even all this struggle that we had, eventually we vanquished them.
Let's do it again.
Then you're going to have the Baltic states. Then you're going to have...
Well, they're not going to touch those. They
can't. Yeah, it's because they're NATO.
Yep.
Yeah.
They know that as soon as they attack a nation...
Which now Finland, but now Finland's now applied for NATO. So...
Well, I think they actually got it now.
Oh, really?
I think Finland and the forever neutral country of Sweden applied for NATO membership. And you're like, oh, fuck, if Sweden, a neutral country, is joining NATO... kind of says a lot about what's going on right now. You're like,
and that was the exact opposite of what Russia wanted in the first place. They wanted to scare those two countries from joining NATO, and you know what? No, it's like, I don't know.
You're just like,
we're kind of getting fed up with this dude. Let's actually join so that we can actually scare him.
We want that insurance.
Yeah, which honestly, I don't blame them. Especially Finland. It's like Finland for the last 80 years.
With this shit forever.
Has always been wondering if there's ever going to be another Russian invasion, or whether another Soviet invasion before the Afghan War. Because once Russia got involved with Afghanistan, any other focus elsewhere in the world was kind of like minimalized, because now they realized, oh shit. Yeah. So we were fucking with the Americans in Vietnam, but now the Americans are fucking with us in Afghanistan.
Yep.
Now we got to really prove that we can pull this off, and they couldn't.
Nope. And now they're doing it again.
Which, have you noticed that with the Afghan War for 10 years, which I really hope this Ukrainian war does not last.
You're talking about the Soviet-Afghan war, correct?
Right.
Okay. There are so many wars in Afghanistan. We got
the British, us, Russia.
How many civil wars do you want to talk about?
Yeah, that too. So, have you noticed that even before the nuclear accident at Chernobyl, the Afghanistan war would have eventually bled the Soviet Union dry in terms of finances, being able to bleed the country financially to a point that it just ceases to exist on an economic level, on a financial economic level. And eventually it did, and Chernobyl was actually like the one that accelerated it. But without Chernobyl, who knows? 1995, the Soviets would have probably still collapsed. They would not have survived into the 21st century, that's for certain, especially with the internet. By 95, I'd say the Soviet Union could have not existed anymore. But what's to say that the war with Ukraine and Russia will have the Russian Federation the country as it sits,
Collapse?
do you think will collapse because of this ongoing war, that it's going to be another Soviet-Afghan war, that eventually with enough dead Russian soldiers, and if it does escalate, which good on the Ukrainians for using restraint on only shelling a few military targets in Russia the few times that it did, but not hit any civilian installations or just really anything civilian.
I think there's a reason for that, because if
you've got to play the bigger.
Well, not only that, but you're using NATO weapons. If NATO found out that you were using it on non-military targets, they would cease all like aid to Ukraine. So they kind of have to be careful.
Right. But even still, the Ukrainians were still careful with the few times they did hit Russia proper.
Mm-hmm.
But now, what is to say that with enough Russian lives and enough time grinding away at the stone of, it's going to bleed Russia white first before it does to Ukraine, because Ukraine is now standing solidly in its resolve that it will stay Ukrainian to the very last. They have effectively created an imperial Japan, in a sense that every single person, even all the men that have fled initially at the beginning of the war, have all come back. More and more Ukrainian men are actually entering the country, and even more of their families have now come back. So the Ukrainians are now growing hard in their resolve that if Russia wants Ukraine, they will have to take every single one of them out.
Yep.
That's 40 million people, to which that could literally mean that the entire country, if they were really that desperate, that, well, not to say they could arm 40 million people, but even 2 million people that are dedicated enough to defend their country could certainly even push the Russians fully out in a mass wave. Not that it's smart, but the Russians, as they sit, they can't go any further. In fact, they're being pushed back. The Russian army is the biggest supplier to the Ukrainian army, just because of all of the equipment, all of the logistics that they left behind, including even training manuals that they never burnt.
So, like, thanks, Russia. We'll be taking care of these and probably using them far more effectively than you will.
Thank you for giving us your armored personnel carriers, all of your working tanks, all of your truck transport loaded with equipment, food, and other.
Who knows? I don't think I'd trust that food. They're probably like way too expired by now.
They are actually, because a lot of the food that they've given to Russian soldiers are dating from 2014, and that's their best buy date. No, I don't know if it's their manufacture date or their best buy date, but that's still too old.
The other thing, it was later found or discovered that some of their helmets that they've been issued are airsoft replicas. So they're being sent in with plastic helmets.
Holy Christ.
And now you're really starting to feel bad for a lot of these poor conscripts.
You'd be better off
issued a bunch of shit that either doesn't fit, isn't real, or just doesn't work.
You'd be better off issuing them SCH-69 helmets, the steel ones.
They're doing that too.
You know what?
They're running so dry of all their stuff, like they can't even get the fake ones now. They're like, here, like,
have an actual steel helmet.
Here, have Soviet era helmet. We don't know what you're going to do.
You know what?
But there it is.
That's safer than an airsoft helmet. I would take that over an airsoft helmet.
It still shows just how dire their situation is.
Russian conscripts getting rusty rifles that they have to paint just to cover the rust.
They don't even function.
New Russian conscripts are spending 60 to 70,000 rubles, which I don't know what that is in American money, of their own equipment. So their uniforms, most of
body armor,
their own body armor, their own field gear.
They're buying their own medicine because the corpsmen and doctors don't have enough chemicals and like necessary medical supplies. That are telling all the conscripted soldiers, they make sure you buy all this stuff because we will not be able to provide you with some. Your logistics has to be so bad that literally strong-arming all of your conscripts to buy their own medical supplies.
Plus, two, whatever generics that they have are probably so old that they're probably not effective, or maybe even dangerous.
Yep.
So really, in a long-term thing that we both can see, and we're not military analysts in any way, the Russians will give way before the Ukrainians do.
Let's hope.
And I would hope that eventually, I am actually hoping for one group of people. I am hoping for Russians in general just to start getting a brain and to actually say, okay,
enough's enough.
Enough's enough. We've grown tired of this. You've got your sons, husbands, cousins, uncles being blown to bits, being charred away into a tank, dying gruesomely,
or
you know
accidentally running into your own apartment.
Yeah, and eventually, the thing that killed the Soviet Afghan war, what allowed it to stop was the good old standard Soviet babushka. And they're
you don't mess with the babushkas.
Because in the Soviet Union, you wait in lines, right? So you stay patient. An angry, patient babushka might be the most dangerous thing in the Soviet Union because they can handle screaming at someone for hours because they can do that in line.
Well, not only that, they've also seen a bunch of it prior.
They've seen a lot of shit too because they're old enough to remember the German invasion, so they don't give two fucks about, oh, well, you're a policeman? You're about to arrest me? Well, I saw my first husband getting shot by Germans.
Yeah, this is
so I'm going to keep yelling at you. And what is the policeman going to do? Fuck. If I arrest,
they're still going to arrest them, but they're going to be more so reluctant to, because it's like, this lady has seen some shit. Right. Probably more shit than we'll ever see in our lifetime.
And more likely, they probably get treated better than the younger people in the Soviet Union. Or maybe awful. Who knows? Russians were weird like that.
But enough of Ukraine.
Enough of Ukraine. You kick ass. Kick all the ass. We are really rooting for you to pull through this because this is madness. And I am so glad that you are standing up to a international bully because Putin's insane. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's just dying secretly. And he just wants to cause as much mayhem before he croaks.
So now, next thing we got, car stuff.
Oh, yeah. So I'd done a lot of work on the Cavalier this past year since the last time I made a video. And it's brought a lot of nostalgia to my Hoosk cart because no other car in the past have I ever worked on but a Cavalier, but for angry, dumb reasons. Now I have a Cavalier that I'm actually doing work on for happy, good reasons, and it's been putting me back together from a very, very messy year. I am whole again, and I can actually say I'm kind of back. I'm actually back to what I used to be, except maybe a little bit more wiser. So
I thought you were talking about your other car, the one that you couldn't figure out was.
Oh, that's funny.
And then you actually found out. Oh, that's why I just ignored it.
Yeah, I can discuss that too. So I visited a friend in the southern tip of Indiana.
Just the tip.
Just literally the tip. Over the river is Kentucky. He is that close. You could probably spit into Kentucky, and then someone would probably say, nice.
It's raining.
It's raining. Oh, there's a spittoon right there for
God
you. God damn. My children can see that. So we finally get there Friday night into Saturday morning. Me and my friend Cyber Husky, we decided to drive down there together in his pickup truck with a dolly, and I had my car on the dolly going down. So we just hung out in his truck and whatnot. Finally got there, and our host for the weekend was, passed out and high as hell. So we figured, okay, well, we can find a place in town just to park on the side of the road and just get some shut-eye. Because it's late at night, there are no hotels open, and even if there were, they'd probably be full. So we decided, hey, I got blankets and a sleeping bag for this. We're gonna rough it out for one night, and then kind of go from there. So I decided to get comfy, and I tried to get comfy in the cab of the truck, and then found out, no, this is awful. So I decided to give the other Hoosk the entire cab of the truck for him to get comfortable in. To which then throughout the night, as he was moving around, he smacked the horn at like 3 a.m. in the morning, and thought he had woken me up, but I was already passed out because I was so tired.
Oh, that reminds me of a story to tell.
And here I am in the back of his bed. I decided to crawl in with a bunch of tires. And
2 tires?
3.
Were they too tired?
They were very tired.
Very tired.
And I get nice and cozy in there and whatnot. I got my sleeping bag. Got a little cold, but you know what? I was okay. Then about 5-6 hours later, we finally get up again. Could have slept in a bit more, but we wanted to get our day going and whatnot. I put my stuff away back in my car. I get in. We start driving around. Literally, we got stuck into this town's local 100-year-old celebration of its farmers fair.
Yeah,
and
Centennial.
We drove directly into their soon-to-be parade.
Oh no!
So here we are with a truck, a dolly, and an old Cavalier going through a town. As they were blocking the road behind us as we went in, so now we're like, oh fuck, we can't go back now. They are absolutely blocking us in, and we have no idea what's going on. So now we're just desperate to find a way out, and we finally did by blindly turning into a road that we did not know if it had an exit, and we found out that it did, but we had to go through some closed road signs that we had to pull apart just a bit to get out. So we almost got part of a parade and a festival that we would not have been able to get out. So that was actually pretty funny. It was terrifying to think, oh, we're dumbasses. And we're out of state, so now it's like, oh, it's Wisconsin.
State dumbass.
We're Wisconsin dumbass people. Those Northerners think they're better than us, even though Indiana's a North state, but they still think we're Northerners. Actually, at that point, since we're touching Kentucky, yeah. So we escaped that, had some fun, drive our way back. Side bought a car, sight unseen, and it wasn't bad, but it was, full of rust. And the exhaust system decided to fall apart in pieces. But then before the thing did finally fall apart into pieces, it was sparking against the road.
Ooh.
To which then an Indiana police or a Indiana state trooper was driving in the left lane of us, passing us, seeing the sparks, because the sparks were becoming a bit more brighter. And no, he kept on going. He must have thought that's not my problem, and then he just kept on going. So it's like, oh, okay. And then eventually it became our problem, so we had to start ripping things out and whatnot. And we forgot to strap the hood down because the hood didn't have a hood latch anymore. Like the hood latch on that car did not exist. For about 10 minutes of driving and about 15 miles.
Now, is this still your Cavalier car, or is
No, this is another Cavalier that my friend bought.
Oh,
so now we went in one Cavalier in, two Cavaliers out. And this other Cavalier, which was really kind of a junk car, he only wanted it for its powertrain. So it's got a fiberglass hood that's very, very light. There's no hood latch on it, so it just opens up freely. And we drove about 15 miles before we stopped into a gas station to then pull off towards the side. I pull up behind him, and he gets out of his truck, and he walks to me and says, and I just roll down the window and say, oh, yeah, we totally forgot something. Oh, yeah. It was the stupid hood. And like, yep, I had a feeling because I had already thought the hood already got smashed up, but it was actually the bed cap of his truck. But I already thought the outline of the bed cap was the hood, and it's like, oh, it's already smashed in. We're already too late for that. But then when I found out the hood was still down, it's like, I don't know how the hell we managed to make it that far. At 60 miles an hour, and the hood never got blown up by a gust of wind. And I don't know how it managed to do that. But we got lucky. Then after a few times of getting hit with small debris from car, I decided to lead for a while, and then I just have the Hoosk behind me tell me, hey, we got to pull over. More stuff's falling out. It's like, okay. So then we're ripping up more exhaust, and the cherry bomb that was actually like being held on by nothing was being held on by a piece of wire. So actually, the biggest chunk of metal we were able to actually save.
Literally hanging by a thread.
Yeah. Literally small amounts of bale wire. And it was not in there. I literally picked it up, rotated it, and it came out.
Damn.
So it's like, yeah, this could have like jettisoned off into somewhere. And a cherry bomb exhaust is thick gauge sheets of metal, so that could be a projectile. So yeah, it's all car stuff and whatnot, and that was pretty fun. It was a fun trip actually.
Let's see what else is on that list. We have. I can't tell because the live tab.
Oh, so then that's the life of Hoosk. So I decided to go to a gym.
Hey, get swole.
Oh yeah. You know what? I want to get toned again, but I don't want to get muscle. But I want to show that I somehow go to the gym by going to the gym, but not being Arnold Schwarzenegger.
We're here to pump you up.
We're going to pump you up.
Hey, not like next time you do one, hit me up. I might just consider getting a gym membership. I also need to lose the.
Yeah, that's belly. Actually why. Yeah. So what I've been doing is Kurdan's got a Planet Fitness membership, and he is allowed to bring a guest. So, sadly, only one, because otherwise.
Well, shit. Why don't we all just do like a Planet Fitness outing? We'll be like, yeah.
Because we go to the one in Greenfield.
I could still do it. Greenfield's not that far.
And I'm trying to make it a minimum of 2 times a week that I go to the gym. Just a minimum of 2, but as many times if I want otherwise. And we go for about like an hour and a half, but not too much. We're not like.
What do you guys do?
Just lifting. We just do weight machines and such like that, and medicine ball. Not extreme stuff, but just enough just to kind of get a workout in and whatnot. Me, I'm just sticking to minimum weight that I feel comfortable doing before I start building up. I just want to do 30 pounds maybe across the board for some machines before I get too easy with it. It's like, okay, you know what? 30? All right, I can go to 35 or 40. Then I kind of do that for a while. So I want to build up my strength a little bit in time. Also have some fun with it too. So yeah, doing a gym membership was easy, but we wouldn't be able to unless I do a gym, like a paid gym membership too, to get you involved for free.
I could probably just do it myself. Like, again, Planet Fitness isn't really that far out of the realm of going to. Plus, they've also got one in Racine, so if I didn't go there, I could always go to the Racine one.
That too? Or, yeah.
I just need to start doing something because I've got a suit coming up, and I don't want to not be able to fit in it, especially considering how much I paid for it.
You'd be better off having it with gut right now and working out so then you can take it in.
Hence why we're trying to get the duct tape dummy done right away. Right. And then sometime after that, I would like to start looking at a gym membership.
I've just decided, you know what? I do want to lose some weight. It's only 15 pounds, but 15 pounds is good enough for me.
Hey, that's some good progress in my book.
Yeah.
I remember how proud I was when I lost 10. and then I gained 20.
I have not lost any weight, but I have not gained any weight. I've been 170 for a long time, almost for like years.
You're only 170?
But my joints start to hurt at 175.
I'm like,
so it's a very fine line before my knees start to kill me.
I'm 218 right now. I'd kill to go back to 140.
I can see 155 being a good weight for me. I can't see myself being any lower because I have way too much mass. I have way too much mass to actually give up that it would not have been possible unless I start starving myself.
Yeah,
It's just really changing the way I sort of eat. So I'm gonna do a little change on that, but working out a little bit more to try to get rid of some muscle fat.
I want to start doing that. Maybe eat out less, with the exception of maybe weekends.
Right. I mean, you kind of have to cheat a little bit. You gotta have to
Yeah,
live. Um,
but
but
I try not to make, with the exception of maybe getting like an occasional coffee. I try not to
yeah,
get any food.
I just kind
Like,
of lightly snack and even the lunch today. Even the lunch today, I tried eating a full burger, just an ordinary burger. I I had a hard time actually eating that. So my eating portion to me is actually getting slightly smaller to the point that it's hard enough for me to finish a burger now. To the point that there are no sides. It's either just a burger or the side. And you know what? That's good. That means if I eat less, but eat the things I do need to eat, would be good for working out. Would be good to reduce portion size. So it all will help in its own way.
right.
But yeah, if you ever want to do a little bit of some driving, but yeah, we could do a workout routine because what I like to do, certainly for sure, is on my Thursdays after Kurdan gets home from work. I like to.
Damn it. Thursdays? Shit, that might be difficult for me.
Mm, well,
I could probably do it on a Friday and maybe a Wednesday,
okay. I'm fine with either one of those.
because those are like the only days where I'm either not working a shift or I'm only working a single.
Okay. Well, if you get a gym membership for Planet Fitness, and if you ever wanted to actually have a workout buddy,
Yeah, I would certainly like to do it. I know not everybody needs to have like somebody else there with them
it's
to do
more
it,
fun.
but not only is it more fun, I just tend to like feel a little bit more motivated to actually do something when there's another person there,
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
rather than, just go there silently and be constantly judged by somebody else. Like a
yeah.
complete stranger to be like, "Oh, your form's wrong," or
I have
they act completely douchey instead of actually trying to help you.
actually the Planet Fitness at this place that I go to. Hardly anyone cares, but everyone's doing their own thing, so
Right.
they're more focused to do their own thing than to be giving someone else a hard time. And the Planet Fitness model of no judgment, I can sort of see that, but honestly, I don't give a fuck because I'm there to work out. I am there wanting to be healthy. I am there to look and feel better.
And
And nothing's going to stop me to get to that point. Because I would like to actually get to that point and then maybe help maintain it by going to the gym.
making it a regular thing.
Right. Actually, I think mentally it would be a good thing for me too to blow off some steam by lifting weights. It might actually make me an even happier
Yeah, I
person.
want to bench press again. I don't even
So,
remember what it like the last thing like the last weight I was able to bench press in high school. That's how bad my whole bench pressing situation is. But again, it's one of those activities where it's like you can't do that on your own. You
yeah,
want to have somebody
you
there
want a
with you
spotter. Yeah.
because things can go bad. It was over 350 pounds, and I was able to drop down to 227.
Nice.
I
That's fantastic.
just want to be back to being that skinny ass twink that I used to be.
Me, I just want to maintain my weight, get a little bit more tone, but without being a muscle dog. I don't need to be a muscle dog, but I do like to have a certain strength set so that it's useful for most life occurrences.
You don't want to be a Duke,
Duke.
Duke Doberman.
I mean, he's absolutely hot. He is absolutely hot.
There's no debating that.
But that is a lot of dedication that I actually don't have. And the problem is with Duke is daddy. Yes.
Duke is daddy.
Is it's just the moment that you have that much toned muscle, you really have to work out because otherwise you start to lose it.
So
And
you want to be something similar to like what Huskoon is right now?
that's exactly the model.
Chiseled.
That's exactly the model that I'm actually going after. Yes, you're absolutely correct. Huskoon, if you're listening out there, I want to be more physically like you. Except shorter.
Shorter.
Except shorter. Because I'll never be your height, but you know what? That's okay.
Shorter in what regard?
It's just in height.
Okay. We have no idea how to transition from that.
So that's currently what I'm doing in life right now is to feel healthier, definitely eat healthier, but I want to look healthier, look good again.
Yeah, you don't want to have like that. The worst part.
I just want to be chiseled Hoosk. So
yeah, I want to be the same weight as Fluke Husky, or the other Fluke Husky, like the one that does the AD stuff. Because I know of two Flukes,
right,
and that's a fluke in itself.
Yeah. But if you
Husky. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my God, him. Yeah.
I haven't seen his videos in like forever. You should watch those yet.
I want to destroy him. Did I say that out loud?
Maybe. I do find it funny that like the first time I met Fluke was at Anthrocon 2019. I take a picture of him, right? That same picture I posted first, but I don't do any editing because I'm a novice and I don't know how photo editing works yet. He posts the exact same picture, only zoomed in with
on
like
his ass.
No, just like more closer to like him, and then has like a picture or has like the emoji offset in the corner. Got way more traction, and I'm like, yeah, that's how it'd be sometimes.
But yeah, if you ever want to actually go out to the gym with us, we'd be glad to actually have more.
I'd be totally down.
So, and then now the next one is going to be Life of Wolfe.
Oh.
So let us talk about what's new with you lately.
Not a whole lot going on. Just working my ass off, trying to get enough time off for both next week and possibly 2 other conventions that I have planned right now.
Talk about work. What just happened recently?
So we had like a peace thing. It's kind of like their peak week for Amazon, but the weird part was everybody was mandated, especially if you were full time, to work 10 shifts. Each shift is like about 4 hours in time, sometimes 5 if we flex up.
Right. And
they want us to all do this, but all of us basic grunts at the warehouse all know that no one's. Yeah, I'm an Amazon worker. I work in the cardboard hail department, but so we get there and we're all just like thinking, yeah, no one's gonna buy in the Broketober month because that's why they call it Broketober.
Right.
So, with that being like a factor, not a whole lot of people were ordering stuff because they're all saving it for Christmas. So they're waiting till like maybe late November, early December for the better deals. And then we're working, and then they're like, hey, we've got all these voluntary time offs that you guys can have. We know that we've mandated that you work 10 shifts, but you know what? We're going to send like all this stuff out so you don't have to show up to work because we can't afford to have y'all.
Nice.
It's like,
says Narwhal is a Amazon worker too, and they are a picker.
Yeah.
So then what do you do at Amazon?
I'm a big box sorter, mostly. Our group, I'm a VTO slut. Yeah, I shouldn't get too complacent with that, but I'm guilty of that myself. I'm not going to be doing that this week, though. I need as much money as I can for next weekend.
Also, what did you do recently with your employment life?
Employment life? What do you mean? Oh, yeah, I quit my other job. I'm full time now. at that building.
So you have finally decided to put in your 2 weeks time at your school job.
About like the best timing for it too, because everything just kind of started to
Go
go to the
downhill.
go down to the pits.
That's because that you were still there, and the moment that you left, that it started going downhill.
Well, I wouldn't say that. It's just all this other like school shit that everybody's kind of dealing with right now. I just got a VTO text for my next shift tomorrow. Yeah, I don't get those texts anymore. They don't, for some reason. I think they blue balled me specifically
Uh-oh.
because they probably are like, hey, you've taken too many VTO opportunities. We're not gonna send them anymore, or we'll send them late, and then you'll get them and you're like, they're full. But yeah, I mean, if I get to a spot where I like, it's not all bad. It's only the places that I don't like that really make it a pain. And then it's like, I really wish I had some VTO right about now. But yeah, quit that job, got better benefits, better money, get
Did
paid.
they, because now that you went from part-time to full-time, did they pay you any more per hour?
Well, my
Or
timing
not,
couldn't
or
have
not
been more
really?
perfect because shortly after we got to another like period where it's like, hey, you've been here for about 2 years, you're getting like what was it, 10, like a 50-cent raise.
50
And
cent? Okay.
yeah, so like the longer you stay, the more raises you get.
Which makes sense. Which
Because
makes sense.
they also kind of want to incentivize people to kind of stay in their building.
And to
And
stay there because that means that the longer that you're there, the better that you're doing your job, and they would rather prefer to have people who know what they're doing just to make the job easier. Well, not easier, make it run smoother so that there are no kinks in the system.
yeah,
So that's more corporate things of that's what they want to have is they want to keep people because if it's a continual revolving door, which Amazon can totally be like,
oh yeah,
uh,
people burn out real fast.
you wouldn't be able to keep any workers around, and you're always constantly training, and the job just gets out of hand.
I just wish I could get better shifts. I like my morning sort, but I hate my twice sort.
Oh,
Twice sort's that bad. And then I later found out that there was one guy that I didn't really like because he kept taking like the scenic route around and drop all the big box off.
mm-hmm.
And then I later realized I know who this guy is. It's a local furry. I'm like, God damn it.
Oh,
And I'm just like screaming internally inside because it's like he's one of your own, but you can't yell at him because then he'll start thinking that you're like really pissed off at him for other reasons. And you're just like, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. And you're like trying so hard not to hulk out and start breaking stuff.
you mentioned furries and Amazon. You work with a lot of furries.
Um, Only some, but or I'll see them in passing because we had a few in our building in a while. We actually had a group chat for a while.
Really?
Yeah, and then a bunch of people either transferred to other buildings or they just quit the whole Amazon lifestyle altogether and got a better job.
I mean, it is a pretty hard lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely. I say that as I'm wearing one of my Amazon shirts right now. Starting to become like that guy that wears nothing but Amazon drip. Just show up to every local con. He's like, "Yo, what's up?" And he's just got like, his A to Z hat on. His orange vest with like the big like bold letters on it.
Right.
He's just no. I like big box. I don't like to do anything else. I like my sortation center.
Yeah, I mean, I've never worked for Amazon.
It's not a terrible job. It pays.
I figure.
But if it's like not for you, then I would like if you're not fully committed, um, part time would probably be a better option.
It's just I've done enough warehouse jobs where okay, all right, it's a pretty easy job. It gets boring real fast, but at least it's not rocket science to where you got to keep thinking of what you're doing. It's not like driving a
Yep.
bus where I have to think of every stupid little regulation while I drive a bus that everything's got to be somewhat done in some way to save my ass in case something happens at that very moment. Whereas a warehouse job, oh yeah, just follow what your training has told you and just kind of go from there, and it just goes smoothly.
They got rid of vests for our building now.
Are you vest free?
Yeah, we're vest free. Because initially we had to have vests in the building because we didn't have like the pit area completely fenced off.
Okay.
But now that it is, so like, yeah, you guys can continue wearing them if you like, but you don't need them anymore. And I'm like, finally, like,
oh, we don't need this shit anymore.
Now I don't have to sweat as much because that vest really does add a lot of like excess sweat because you're wearing more layers than you normally would.
Yeah.
Not the best part. That's the only downside about working there is that now I've taken 2 showers a week. Or no, not 2 showers a week. 2 showers like every day that I'm working. And it used to be like, oh, I'll just take a shower in the morning, do my stuff, then go to bed, wake up, do another shower, and then go to work. Now it's like you got to do it twice every day.
Yeah.
Extra musky. No, we're not Elon Musk's levels of bad yet. Speaking of which, we always joke around. My coworker, the one that we cope by using a lot of humor while we're at the job.
You kind of have to just to stay sane.
He's like, just remember, Wolf, you apply yourself just enough. Jeff Bezos will be able to afford that super yacht he's always wanted. He can buy a whole fleet of them. He's like, how else do you think Amazon's going to be able to colonize Mars if you don't commit? You got to commit to the big bucks gang.
That's funny.
He got so creative with his jokes. He literally got custom shirts that said BBG on it. We just said Big Box Gang.
Big Box Gang.
and like a couple of our friends, we all wore it, and we all like wore it up as a squad. We're like, yeah, we're the Big Box Gang. Until eventually, like, one of the hypersensitive guys.
You just made me think of something. BBG is also a gang from an anime.
Oh no.
Which I forget what it's called, but it's just so silly stupid. I'm gonna have to show you later.
But eventually we had to stop.
The Big Butt Gang.
The Big Butt Gang. Well, they were originally gonna go with Big Box Crew, but then they realized that the
BBC.
Yeah, and we were like, we definitely don't want to get in trouble with that one. So they eventually did tell us we couldn't wear it anymore because like, well, we can't really support gang activities. Like, you hire ex-cons, and they're like, well, yeah, but it's all about like not trying to be like, it was like, but it's camaraderie. We do this as like a joke.
You would think that any bit of work cohesion with your coworkers is going to make the job better for everyone. Thus, you're going to be doing your job better.
Yep.
But no, corporations don't like that. Even at my last job,
no fun league.
You cannot have any bit of fun. You can't have any bit of friendship. My last job, my boss was trying to split me and my best friend up from working. So you would try to pit one against the other, and then we played we played his heart around that, and then we blew it right in his face, saying, "Yeah, you were never going to do that."
How about I do anyway?
Yeah. So we just kind of toyed him around until we just kind of like say, "Yeah, this is dumb. We're gonna like work together, and there's nothing you can do about it," because he's very much that one guy that likes to see everyone work alone to do their own job, but never ask for any help, which doesn't make any sense because eventually you will need to ask for help for certain things. But no, yeah, we totally pissed him off. It's like, no. We're gonna do the job our way. You trained us to do a job. Let us do our job to do that job. So let us have our fun, because otherwise, we're not going to be here for very long. Which, well, we all left. So
we all left.
Watch that Bezos is secretly a furry. He has if Jeff Bezos was a furry, what would he be?
And no, we're not. I wouldn't say the rat like everybody else likes to say it because it's popular. Trying to think, what would he like objectively, based on all of his characteristics, be?
I would say he's a ferret.
A ferret?
Because he likes money. Money's very shiny, and ferrets like shinies.
Yeah, but so do birds.
Oh.
He could be a bald eagle because he's bald.
Oh!
And he does ship things over like by air, so he flies.
There we
and
go.
He just went into space.
Okay, all right. So he's a bald eagle.
Confirmed bald eagle.
He is a bald eagle with many, many, many private business accounts.
Ships everything from A to Z and always with the smile. Let's see what next is on the chopping block for convo pieces. We got catching up. We already did that. Car stuff. Fursuits. I'm gonna be working on my duct tape dummy this weekend or this upcoming weekend.
Nice. At Aquatifur?
Yep.
Yeah.
The funny part is it's like it's done by that same guy that literally tied up a local before. So it's art. Like, not only is he doing it to like kind of help because we both got the same maker, but he also likes tying people up. So it's like two birds with one stone.
So wait, so he duct tapes you and then he puts a rope.
And then he ties me up. Yeah, well, I mean, I did buy rope for a like.
Is this who I think it is?
Yes.
Okay.
You know him all too well.
Yeah.
He was reminded of like a post from Anthrocon this past year because he completely forgot. Not surprised considering how sloshed he was. He's like, wait, I did what? He's like, yeah, you didn't see this? And I show him the tweet and he's like, yes, let's play football together. Yes, please tackle me. And just like,
in that voice.
Yep. Oh, and we're like, yep, that sounds like him. That's
amazing.
Yep. He's the one that has my badges too.
Nice. Oh, cool. So then you'll get to see him, get duct taped by him, and then get bound by him.
Probably.
All three things, and all in a day's work.
Yeah.
Or all in a weekend, and we just don't see you the entire weekend.
For one weekend.
Hey, it's Sunday. Hey, I just saw you. I just escaped. Wink, wink.
Escape.
Escape. I think for me, for like fursuits, of course, trying to get my suits back from my maker.
Sure. Hope you get those back in time.
Because I do miss my suits. I miss my boyos. I miss being a boyo and then zooming around and bulldozing people. I miss doing that.
Do you still have your other one? I forget his name.
I do. Well, actually, both Anton and Dustin are over by my maker.
Oh, so you're trying to get them both
at
fixed.
the same? Yeah. So
that was your mistake.
Yeah, it was my double whammy. But then again, if I had one, I'd be complacent with one, and the other one would never come back. So, but then again, maybe there was motivation with that, or just to get them both done. I still have classic Dustin. So I have one head, but he's kind of a retired head just because big schnoz, doesn't breathe very well, not very ventilated. So yes, I do have a head. No, there was good reason to retire him.
What's a Oh, that's
narwhal.
I was like trying to think, what is a narwhal?
Ocean, causing a commotion.
Awesome. No, I have not seen a narwhal at a con.
But what I'd like to do one day is to, again, as I mentioned it before, make my own suit, or at least buy a foam base, like buy a pre-made foam base online, because I tried carving. I know how to sew. I know how to cut fur. Would like to actually get a duct tape dummy made of myself. I have made about 24 duct tape dummies for people in the past 10 years.
Have you ever used the painter overalls? like method,
I believe I've used that on many people.
but you've never done it yourself.
Oh no, this the very first time ever, because I would like to make my own bodysuit, and I like to find out how to make digigrade because I'm not sure how that would work, but I'd like to find out.
I initially wanted a digigrade for my suit, but then realized how expensive my suit was already getting. Um,
Who knows? Maybe I might just make a plantigrade suit just for shits and giggles, just to say I could make my own bodysuit, and then kind of go from there. Would definitely like to have another Dustin Boyle at some point, just to have. I know all the trade secrets of how to make a fursuit head. I just can't carve, but I know enough to at least cause some trouble with making a head. So there's just a few things I'm not sure how to do, but I can probably learn along the way. But one thing I really, really want to do is make a kigu. Because then I found out that Lemon Brat, you can commission them, but they have now a waiting list because now they have so many.
I think they still also do custom face masks as well.
That's pretty cool.
Because I still have mine.
Wouldn't mind getting one from them too, but they're $1,000 now.
What?
For like getting a kigu from
Damn.
Lemon Brat, which they make good kigus. It's just whoa, $1,000. There was a time when they were a little bit cheaper, but that's quite a bit of money to spend right now, and I don't kind of want to do that. So I would rather like to get a pattern, play around with it, and pretty much just make my own kigu with some fleece.
You could also always ask Tanza. I know that she's in the process of waiting for one to be made right now.
Because I definitely want a kigu, because I like the idea of kigus, and it wasn't until IFC this past year, because kigu fursuiting is quite popular now, where poodling was the thing back in 2019.
Was it?
Oh yeah,
was it really that far back?
Poodling was a big thing in 2019, and then it kind of went from there. But then now more and more people decided to fursuit and kigus now, because hey, it's less work. You're still warm, but you're not as warm.
You're not dying.
And you're not dying as much, but you have your tail, you got your feet paws, your hand paws, and your head. You just kind of go around, and you know what? That also looks good too. So, like to have options. It's just I like to find a good pattern that I can use to make a kigu and kind of go from there. So, I'm a pretty crafty person. Now, I want to say that I've done it. Making bodysuit, paws, and tail, that I can easily do. I know how to somehow make a head. Just some final detailing details I need to be a little bit more rounded on. But for fursuit wise, I want to get my boils back. Definitely want to play around with maybe making a kigu and just buying a fursuit foam base, just to kind of play around with and just see what I can do with it, because I think that'd be pretty fun.
So that's one side project you're working on.
Which I have so many side projects,
Oh, yeah.
and I don't know why.
Our ADHD brains just cannot keep up with the amount of projects that we keep piling on top of other projects. It's like, I'll never get this done in my lifetime, but you know what? I'm going to try anyways.
Yeah. I think with the kigu, it'd be a lot more easier, because I could just get fleece for that. So
I want to do like a airsoft thing. Just make loadouts for all these different periods that I want to recreate.
That'd be... I definitely want to make a World War I impression, like a World War I French impression. That I definitely want to do. I am definitely heavily interested in wanting to do, just as a side impression, to help the local IJA reenactors or Imperial Japanese Army reenactors, is to get basic kit.
Do you speak Japanese?
and just kind of give them an extra guy to have in a battle, because I've been doing reenacting for 17 years, 15 doing World War II, and the Japanese contingent for reenactors is pretty limited. In fact, it's only recently did these guys started coming out in force. Because even back 10 years ago, there was one Japanese reenactor.
There's a group down in Florida that's probably a lot more prominent, but it's also Florida,
and
so
I am not traveling that far.
Yeah, me neither. I'd like to see it, but I don't think I'd partake.
I would not join a unit. However, I would love to help a group of guys and say, hey, do you want another guy for your battle? Just to make it seem like you got more guys. I have my own rifle. I have my own gear. Just place me where you want me to be, and I'll just go along with it. Because technically for 5th Company, for our unit, our second impression is Russian.
Really?
You can actually have a Russian loadout to join the other side if they needed more guys. So let's say for whatever reason 5th Company is not allowed to be at a event, we'll just join the Russian side if it's an Eastern Front. So, which with me and my Mosin Nagant, I could technically also put a very simple Russian kit together.
I don't want to get like a Mosin.
But now I'm just like, oh, World War I French, World War II Jap, and Russians. Like, holy fuck. Do I have money for all this shit?
No. Your
wallet
will be like this, and you'll open it up, and a fly will come out.
Yeah. I mean, with World War I French, I want to fully expand on that like I'm doing German. But for Japanese and Russian, I will only do basic field equipment and only that, which isn't too much. I don't want to get too insane, but I only want to do just enough to make it look good, how they were portrayed in combat on the move.
Yep.
Which both the commonalities between Russian and Japanese, they both traveled light after a period. After 1941, a lot of those guys, when they carried a lot of their field gear with them in battle, because a lot of it they actually carried, then to some point they decided, okay, all this stuff's being held behind and we're not going back for it. Not for a long ass time.
When I get my full kit, you and I should go on an airsoft outing to Boa, the outdoor field.
So in this case, if the second impression or the second official impression for 5th Company is doing Russian, I would almost be better off actually doing that, and that could be both used for airsoft and
you'd be on the opposing side all the time. Be like, all right, don't put me on the same team with this guy. We want to make this a forever like enemy thing,
right? Because they tend to separate teams by color.
Yeah,
unfortunately. Like greens and tans or something like that.
Well, yeah, unless you got multicam, in which case they don't know where the fuck to put you.
So they just kind of give you a choice.
They kind of see how like coin? Well, no, how it works at this field is that if one group is lacking the amount of people, they'll be like, all right, come here, we're gonna give you some tape, and then we're gonna put you on that team.
Oh,
because multicam's a bitch to deal with.
The gray stuff, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Multicam and ACUs are not great. Blacks too, because we don't know.
Just have some Vietnam guy like. Hey!
No, like a lot of people when they go in black, they're wearing like that Cryptek pattern, but the other problem is that it's super absorbent. So a lot of them either are lightly kitted up or are just running fatigues and nothing else.
Yeah. I mean, I think for airsoft, it's the same with like reenacting. You not full field gear or full kit, but you'd be better off running.
Unless you're you.
Unless you're me, where I'm gonna go full 9 yards and I'm just gonna carry all the field gear possible because I'm insane. But even after a while, it's like, yeah, this does kind of become a pain in the ass. Yeah, it does look good, but you know what? Oh, it's a pain in the ass.
You also don't realize, like, I dedicate, like, or commend all the people, like, despite not always being in like the best of shape, but still committed to the craft.
Right.
I do want to get a little more fit though, so I can actually carry more gear and not act like all wimpy all the time. But let's see. Yeah,
But I
that
think
seemed
but I like to definitely like to get into airsoft because I think it'd just be just as fun. And honestly, yeah, the stuff that we kind of do, especially as the days go by, it's like this is becoming impossible to do outside of the context of reenacting. That that it would be easier to do something else from that time period and not to explain yourself.
yeah, we could.
Where like because I could put together an incredibly easy, simple um, Russian kit because it's literally just a gymnastroika pants. Uh,
Kuzum tight.
which really is the Soviet military shirts, the half placket front shirt that only goes halfway. Which apparently the Russians only had 3 sizes: small, normal, and large.
What
They didn't have
what's
specific
considered
sizes.
normal?
Us. So we would be normal size.
Short people.
They did, yeah. And then large would just be like for the really, really tall people. But if you ever noticed any of the Russian photographs of that war, that a lot of the shirts all look the same size on different dudes, and it all looks kind of weird or hokey. And I think even like gray coats, I think they had like again maybe 2 or 3 sizes of everything. I guess the Russians were like, no, we're not. We're we're not Germans where we got sizes for every practical human being on the planet. No, we are Russians. We are practical because we can't afford to do all this shit.
They thought
But I think
thought
it'd
of
be
everything.
but I think it'd be really fun just to put together a Russian kit so that I have something for reenacting if I ever needed it. In case that hey, we are not allowed to be here, but we can be Russian. Then I have a basic kit that I can do Russian with if I'm ever going to an event. Which apparently at the Kursk event, which Fifth Company GD had most famously participated in, but we were told that we're not allowed to be there at a event that GD was the MPV or the most valued team.
Yeah, that was kind of dumb.
So we decided to be Russian.
Wasn't that run by the guy that also is very dangerous with pyro?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's Dave Gordy.
You just name drop the guy.
But he ain't furry, so he ain't gonna care.
Yeah, no. What was it? I heard a story that he was using like black powder satchel charges, not real satchel charges, but throwing them in like these enclosed areas
Oh no.
with people inside. And you're like, bro, you could fucking kill somebody doing that.
Yeah.
Then
Or
then
setting
you have
off,
a legitimate casualty.
or setting off charges where he's not sure where people should be, and they go off and people are dazed because one, the explosions are
Too close.
too close, two almost too powerful for what they should be. There was one incident at a Lockport where I don't know if he was driving a. Were you there for that story?
I don't know. Are you talking about the guy that was a little too close to one of the pyro charges?
No, that's something else. The GI that blew half his ear off because he was too dumb to realize that he was too close to
playing dead by the pyro,
which he shouldn't have done anyway, and that was not our fault because we made sure that you avoid this shit, and he didn't. So we got off scot free.
And your event has them clearly like
marked.
So you like even if you knew like
in a silver bowl. We have a silver bowl where all these pyro charges are being at. So yeah.
Yeah.
But apparently, from what someone had told me, was this one dude was probably inebriated.
Oh God.
I don't know if he was on a motorcycle, a sidecar, or in a Kugelwagen. And you know that small bridge that goes across?
Yeah.
And for the very first time this past year,
we're no longer allowed to drive vehicles
through that area. Besides golf carts, and only by the event staff. So the reason behind that was going down the hill. So he was going up towards the bunker bar. I don't know if he was going through the bunker bar or going away from it, but he's blasting away at speed. And there so happened to have been an off-duty cop who was pushing a stroller with his child in it, decided just before the incident to take the child out of the stroller into his arms, and in which then this guy ended up ramming and destroying the stroller.
Incredibly fucking lucky.
However, the off-duty cop was incredibly chill and did not want to press charges because, of course, nothing happened. But what he only wanted was compensation for the broken stroller. To which then Dave Gordy was, no, I'm not doing that. So then he was like, and this off-duty cop was just very, very, very chill, very, very patient. But then after a while, I was like, okay, yeah, this guy, he's on something. He ain't complying. So he decided to call a non-emergency number for his guys
department.
For his department and say, hey, I have an incident at this at this event at such and such park. You mind just sending a few guys over? I've got this incident here and whatnot. I just want to clear something up. It's like, oh, okay. So they sent over and whatnot, and they, talked it over and this and that. And as far as I know, he was never charged with anything. He just wanted to make sure that he was going to get compensated for the broken stroller and to not press any charges, which the cop was very, very generous, which that's lucky. Although I'm sure the other police were like, oh, we would certainly slap you with,
yeah, if you want us to,
like intoxication charges of operating a vehicle. But they decided, well, you know what, enough time has passed, and it seems like we've resolved the issue, and it seems like this gentleman's already scared enough as it was. And I don't think no charges were ever actually brought to this guy.
They should have.
But yeah. He seems like a nice guy, but he does a lot of weird stuff that would get someone hurt or himself hurt, or just really questionable things that, oh, why would you want to do that? Or, oh, I would have not done that.
Yeah. But it only takes one to ruin it all for everybody else.
Yeah, but he still shows up to our event. He can't drive anything on that bridge now.
That got me thinking, though, when you mentioned Bunker Bar. Yeah. The last event that we went to, I was so fucking drunk.
And yet you were still, besides me, because I was sober at the time.
We all were going like shot or drink for drink, trying to like see who could take as many drinks as they could. I ended up losing after like the 5th hand grenade from the Bunker Bar.
Really?
Yeah, and I was like, I can't do anymore. I'm done. You won. He was like already on his 6th or 7th by that point.
Okay, so well, that actually makes sense, because when I finally found you guys at the table, just to kind of check up on you guys, so you weren't puking into each other's throats, and out of all of them, you were still the only coherent one there, and you were still somehow drinking. You were sipping on something.
Somehow still drinking. I ended up walking back to our camp, but I was like, I helped get my pants off.
And then as I, because I was just laying in bed on my cot, and then as soon as I like, okay, all right, and then you were passed out.
Yeah, I passed out. And then
so it's like, okay, I'm gonna leave him be. He seems like he's sleeping it off. So then here I am, just getting cozy and whatnot, and like 3 hours later,
I wake up and I'm like, I gotta go because all those drinks are starting to hit me now, and I'm like, still I'm sober enough to like get up, but I'm still like inebriated to the point where I can't unbutton the
buttons on the Zelt.
The Zelt, and I'm just like, Paul, I can't get out of the tent.
And I'm like waking up, and on the inside, like, he can't figure that shit out.
And as soon as he got it done, I'm just like sprinting to the nearby outhouse. I'm like, oh my god!
Oh, it's the mythical mile. Oh.
It's 3 a.m. Everybody else is either like passed out or still like by the fire, and then we wake up and it starts to rain. The first event that we go to at that location that I was a participant in this time, and it rains.
Actually, that was a surprising amount of rain, so much so it created a river in our campsite, which I'm so glad
we got out of there when we did.
Not just that, but we had the high ground.
It's over, Anakin.
Our Zelt's on the high ground.
Poor command tent, though, caved in on itself.
Because because there was a river going downhill down through our camp, and then all of a sudden it forked in two ways. One was going to our campfire, which poor Rob was cooking our breakfast meal on, which rained out, and then the other so happened to go right into the command tent. Just coincidentally, like, and flooded out campfire, which flooded out quite quick, and
Yep.
and command tent literally fell on top of itself because the water got so saturated. The tent pole sides have these 3-inch, 4-inch long stakes on the bottoms of the wooden pieces that keep the side of the tent up. That got so waterlogged, it seeped into the soil about, well, 3-4 inches and probably further. That it all just collapsed onto itself. Normally, Lockport's an event that normally stays dry, and if it rains, it don't rain for very long.
Yeah.
We go to Peoria, and that's a historically rainy event, and that was good weather.
Which I also want to point out, the first time I went to Peoria was the time that we also got no rain.
Yeah, that was actually kind of nice. That was actually a lot of fun.
I just didn't like the ruts.
Oh my god, yeah.
That was awful. It's like
yeah.
We're not running in this. We're gonna kind of walk.
Yeah.
And then one of your guys ended up like dinging a GI reenactor directly in the nose with a grenade.
That was Charlie, because that Greyhound armored car fucked up the entire battle.
Not only came in too fast, but came in too close, and you're just like, all right, time to.
And then
recommend
I just decided to tell all of us and say, okay, fuck this dude in particular. We're throwing grenades at him. So then I start chucking one grenade at him as they drove around, and then all of a sudden they're going to our left, blowing by. So then I had a sick grenade. Charlie next to me had a sick grenade. So we started lobbing it almost point blank at them. Charlie's grenade literally skirts the guy on the turret, actually gets him in the nose, but not enough to hit his face. So it got him in the nose.
But it definitely left like a long red mark, and then we ran into him after the whole event was over at Culver's. We're like, what happened to you? He's like, oh, I got hit by a grenade by one of the Germans. He's like, oh, that was our unit. Sorry.
But a 20-minute battle lasted 8 minutes because the armored car went so far into our lines that even Second Panzer couldn't get out. So much so that Tom Comer, I could hear it in the background, was angry because he had made 8 shells that he had to now had to blow off, because now it was considered a fire hazard in his tank that he couldn't just let sit. So awkwardly, he had to discharge 8 shells after the battle just to. So the armored car guys really fucked that last battle on Sunday. It was supposed to be a 20-minute battle. Of course, we were supposed to lose, and we were supposed to advance. But all of a sudden, this armored car starts driving over that over a position that I wanted to take. I wanted to advance 30, 40 feet, or actually, no, that'd be too short. About 80, 100 feet forward. But just before we get a chance to do that, this armored car just starts getting close to us, turns hooks a left around and starts darting. It's like, well, we were going to be there, but seeing how this guy can't drive, he's driving far too fast for the terrain.
Yeah.
We're going to sit still, and I'm just going to say, okay, guys, we're just going to sit here and just hold our position, because at this point, we can't compete against that.
The other part I didn't really like about that particular area was that it made it very difficult to tell where, unlike Lockport, you really had no idea what the designated vehicle area was supposed to be. So it's really hard to kind of play dead.
Yeah.
Especially considering when you don't know which direction the vehicles are going. Yeah. I ended up playing, I ended up in a spot where it's like, yeah, I definitely saw the muzzle flash, so I'm definitely dead. I'm just going to play dead right here. Not realizing that a vehicle was supposed to be coming that direction. It's like, well, nobody told me.
I think at the last battle, because it was just going so haywire, I just kind of said, hey, guys, we're just going to stay put here. And if you want to die, we'll just all bundle up closely together so that hopefully we'll be seen. Because, and then even before we even got to that point, there were GIs coming out of the woods.
Yeah, that was the weird part.
That was nasty.
They came out of a wooded area that they weren't supposed to come in.
Yeah.
Then he took my rifle, and I'm like, whoa. You can have us like surrender and stuff, but do not take my shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I don't like that either because I had a guy walk away with my rifle and he just kept walking around with it. It's like, hey, dude, you got my rifle. I don't know where you're from, but you've just made an enemy with me today, and I'm gonna remember your face because I don't trust that type of shit. Sure, it's one thing to say, hey, I'm gonna move your rifle about a few inches away, and it's right here for you, okay? If you ask me that and it's not gonna be going with you, but it's somewhere where it's near me, sure, I'm fine with that. But if you're gonna be, oh hey, look, a souvenir, and then walk around the battlefield with it, but then not know what guy you took it from, it's like that's not responsible.
It's like the South Park's like meme, and it's gone.
And it's oh yeah, and this one Russian, an actual Russian reenactor, like an actual Russian playing a Russian reenactor, ended up picking 2 German rifles off the ground and just walked around with them, but not knowing where they actually came from. And he ended up giving it to Tom, he just saw Tom as a random German reenactor and say, "Hey, this is actually yours." It's like, "Oh, okay." And then it's like, "Hey, is anyone missing rifle?"
Is anyone missing rifle?
Or it's like, yeah, what is it? I don't know. Well, tell me the serial number. So 1428. It's like, well, that's mine. It's like, yeah, well, where'd you get it from? Oh, some Russian reenactor with an Amiga, with a with a parachuter amoeba smock gave it to me. So I was just like fed up and say, okay, I need to talk to this guy because this ain't right. To be picking up a rifle that's not yours and then walking around. So I ended up confronting the guy and say, and he was Russian with thick Russian accent. And I just kind of told him, dude, did you pick up this rifle? Yeah, and like, please don't ever do that again. Please don't ever pick up something that's not yours. And I told that in front of him and his buds. I said, please don't ever pick up a rifle that is never yours.
Because then it makes it difficult, well, especially in America with how like gun laws and stuff are. It's like once that's missing, you have to report it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I had to scold this guy. I hope I embarrassed him enough. I haven't seen him around, or if he is, he's actually like remembering that. But I had to tell him, dude, this is a serious issue where you just walk around with a rifle and then you hand it to some rando. Now that rando may not be Tom, and they say, "Oh shit, okay, cool. Now I get to walk around with these rifles and have to find out what to do with them." A right person's going to be asking around, and you know what? Some other random German is going to say, "Oh, I could use another rifle. Hey, yeah, that's actually mine." And then now I don't have a rifle. So there's a huge problem with that, and I want to talk to the HRS that weapons that are not yours should not be handled very, very long, or if not at all. I had someone walk on my dad's MP40. It was a GI, and I'm sure they weren't watching where they were going, but had a GI walking on the stamped receiver. Which
does your dad still have that?
No, he sold it to. He sold it to another local.
I want to try it. Like I want to like actually shoot a blank adapted MP40. See what it's like.
It actually they do feel pretty good, but an MP40 receiver is pretty thick sheet steel, so someone standing on it won't affect it. But it's not a good sight to see when you got some dude standing on a weapon. And I just say, hey, get your fucking feet off that. And it's like, oh, it's like, dude, come on. I mean, I don't step on your hand while you're dead. Oh God. So again, that just made me angry. It's like, for fuck's sakes, at least watch where you're at least going.
Yep.
Yeah, that's something I do want to talk to the HRS to say, hey, we certainly cannot have this happen, because what happens if a weapon goes missing and it cannot be found? You not only have a missing weapon that you have to now report, but now you have an event that now cannot. You have an event that now allows this to happen, and it can't. Yep. All it takes is a missing weapon to really start scaring people, and I'd rather not have that happen to me or anyone, but I don't want it to ever happen because now shit could get worse from there.
Yep.
So
now our final topic is Halloween.
Halloween. Let us talk about
the new movie,
which I'm going to admit I have not really seen any of these movies. They're not my kind of thing. But Wolf, why don't you explain?
So I went and saw 2018's when it first came out. Rather enjoyed it. Maybe it had a few plot issues, but it's like I could still like the movie. The second one I really did not like how they treated a lot of like the surviving characters from the very first Halloween movie, the one that takes place in '78, because this new like trilogy or set of movies was supposed to take place after that. This was like a whole new timeline. So they kind of spat in a lot of those characters' faces, which I didn't really appreciate. And it was all kind of comical. Like the way that some of the characters died. Like you literally had one who's like, I shut out the window. And then, oh no, Myers is still trying to get us. I better lock that same door. That'll keep us safe. Never mind the big hole in the door, but you know what? He's not gonna know the difference. He's wearing a mask and it's dark out. It's not like he'll see.
So there's a definite lack of common
sense.
Yeah,
there was in that movie for sure.
Isn't that with some horror movies where people die because of lack of common sense?
That wasn't even the worst death too. Like I shit you not. Spoilers, by the way. One of the characters dressed up as like like a very like obscene nurse.
Okay.
Came back after she just escaped that vehicle and everybody died. She's got a Desert Eagle and she's shooting, missing every shot at him. He opens the door and hits the deagle, and because her finger's still on the trigger, when it loops around, she pulls the trigger and shoots herself in the face. I shit you not. I was the only one in the entire theater laughing at that because of how stupid it was. And I'm pretty sure I made a lot of enemies that night.
Oh.
So I didn't like that one. And apparently the consensus was the same. 3, like their final one, was a little mixed. But it wasn't bad. I kind of knew based on how they were setting these movies up that they were bound to finally kill Michael Myers. Yeah, that's the actual drop. They legitimately finally kill him.
Do you believe that might be the end of the series?
Well, in this timeline, he's definitely dead. There's no way that he's coming back from that one. But they'll probably make more. Who knows?
So they'll make more spin-offs.
They'll either reboot the franchise and just have different people, because there's no way Jamie Lee Curtis is probably going to do another one. I think she's done, which is fine. But the one drawback that I have for this movie was that, and again, we're going to get into some spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, don't listen to this podcast. It's still out right now. You can still go see it. Watch it first and come back to us. So it takes place like the beginning of the movie. It's like a year after the events from the first 2 movies take place, because the first 2 movies are supposed to be on the same night. Mm-hmm. So 2018's Halloween. And this guy's babysitting for a moderatively wealthy family, but their kid's kind of a brat. Does a bunch of shitty things. Ends up locking his babysitter in an attic, and he's trying to get out because he doesn't like the dark. And this is like a year after all the things occurred. So his parents are out. The parents come in right as they're hearing him like freaking out because he's like saying, "I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna kill you," but he doesn't actually mean literally. It's just like what you would typically say, like especially.
If I get out there, I'm gonna
kick your ass.
I'm gonna kick your ass and give you a wedgie.
You're gonna get in so much trouble. And so then he eventually starts trying to bust down the door, and right as he busts it, the kid was standing directly behind the door, and it's up on this floor next to a stair, like a set of stairs, and this big open gap. So he pushes him over, like when he kicks the door down, the force forces the kid completely off the balcony rail down on the floor, killing him instantly.
Oh.
Right as the parents come back.
Oh.
So now this poor guy feels really bad because he accidentally killed a kid, and now the entire town treats him totally differently. Like, he can't have a normal life. He was eventually, I think charged with manslaughter or was acquitted because it really was an accident. But because that stigma stayed with him for so long, he ends up getting bullied by a bunch of like these like high school kids and like saying, "Hey, can you buy us like a beer?" And he's like, "No." And then they start harassing him and stuff because he wouldn't buy them alcohol. It's like, okay, not saying that this isn't out of the realm of possibility, but I would have just not bothered with these guys. It's like, fuck you, I'll buy my own beer and I'm gonna drink it right in front of you because you guys are dumb. You're stupid. So eventually they catch up with him. They force him off this overpass area where like this homeless dude in a tent's like over and there's like a drainage ditch or whatever it's called. So he gets dragged into this thing. He wakes up, he's like, where the fuck am I? Starts walking out and somebody grabs him and it's Myers. Myers has been like missing for 4 years now, just hiding out in this ditch. And he looks into this kid's eyes. He's like, "Oh, you killed somebody. You know what? You're good. I'm gonna let you go." And I'm like, "Wait, what? What is?" So then eventually the kid starts to snap. Right? Starts wanting to be more like Michael Myers.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's that kind of cliche.
Yeah, and he's like he had this one cop that was you know a former ex-boyfriend of the person that he was then currently dating.
Mm-hmm.
Who couldn't take no for an answer. So then the cop starts to tail the kid in hopes of maybe beat him up and like coerce him to stop hanging out with the girl that he wants to hang out with. So then the kid leads him directly into this area where Michael is, and he's holding him down. He's like telling Myers, he's like, "Show me how to kill him. Show me how. I want to be like you." And I'm like, "Oh my god, this is literally gonna be like an Apprentice type."
Oh no.
And then eventually, like he starts going after the people that either wronged him or wronged the girlfriend because they want to literally cut all ties with any past transgressions in this town. So he goes on this tag team killing spree with Michael for a while, and I'm like, first of all, Michael doesn't do tag teams, so this is already kind of weird. And a lot of people didn't like it either. And then eventually the kid's like, you know what? I don't really need you. Give me the fucking mask. And he's like, no, this is part of my identity. He's like, no. And he starts beating the shit out of him, and it says, "You're nothing without your mask." Puts it on, starts going after Jamie, like Jamie Lee Curtis's character. Eventually, knowing that he can't really beat her, and he already kind of pre-called, you know, his girlfriend saying, "I think your grandma's trying to kill me," and trying to like split them up, like set them up to like hate each other.
Right.
So then he's like, well, if I can't have her, then no one can. So then he stabs himself in the face, making it. And then when she grabbed the knife, it made it look like she stabbed him. And the typical cliche thing, the wrong character shows up and sees that, and you're like, no, you actually killed him. Why? And like, I'm never speaking to you again. Wah. Oh no,
wow.
I didn't mean to. I'm so sorry. And then the one character that was staging a suicide now actually is contemplating of actually committing suicide. But then Michael shows up and it's like, all right, well now I'm gonna have to watch this plan. And then for some reason she just gets like a total change of heart. He's like, I know I just supposedly saw her kill my boyfriend, but I'm gonna go back and just check him. I go, oh shit, Myers is in the house.
No.
So then they all like kind of forget what's going on. They start teaming up with him. Eventually, the cops show up because of their like earlier call of a suicide left by Jamie Lee Curtis's character. And then they realize, oh shit, is that who I think it is? And she's like, yep, we find like much like Osama bin Laden. They're like, we got him. So then they decided to like tape or bind his entire corpse onto the hood of this vehicle, parade him all around Haddonfield, And all of Haddonfield starts to find out about this and like, oh my god, we finally got the son of a bitch. So then they all take him over to like the junkyard area where they have like that giant machine that grinds up all the metal.
Yeah.
And they just throw his unconscious corpse into the thing, crushing him completely into bits. And I'm like, yep, there's no way he's coming back from that. Like,
Wow.
he is dead.
I wasn't sure how he was killed, but yeah, that's one sure way to kill a person.
Yep. Like,
that's insane.
So I already knew that was kind of happening. I think based on the 3 movies that they had, it was like I said, it wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. Their second one was definitely the worst, and the first one I rather liked. So, I'm kind of content with the Halloween franchise just ending where it is. I finally got the thing that I wanted, and that was seeing Myers actually die permanently and not just like, ha, psych, I live, bitch, like he always does.
Until they decide to reboot the franchise, which that would mean
Might be a long time before that happens.
Which probably is a good thing.
Yeah. Better. A lot of these like movies that a lot of people liked are starting to kind of get ruined because
it's overdone.
Well, a lot of people seem to think that that's what they want. And we're like, well, yeah, we do want that, but we want good storytelling. And if you can't deliver both, then I'm just kind of good with you not delivering at all. It's kind of like what happened with Terminator Dark Fate. Everybody universally agrees that 1 and 2 were like the best, and then everything else is just garbage.
Yeah, sequels are very, very hard to see. Like, movie sequels are hard to follow up on what is considered a good original idea. And then the moment they start making it into a series, kind of goes downhill. Yeah, you could say that some movie sequels can be can be someone's guilty pleasure, but then you've got movies that just really should not have been made because they were just they left a lot to be desired.
Yeah, it's really hard, especially when it's like ones that you just start to get invested in and you realize, oh, there's another one, I gotta go see it, and then you see it and you're like, well, that was garbage.
See, yeah, that's actually the thing. Growing up, you like a favorite movie and then all of a sudden another one comes. It's like, oh, sweet, I get to experience the same joys and pleasures of watching the first movie that was satisfying to watch. I can do it again with this new movie and see what goes on, and then get fully disappointed of, oh no, this was nothing what I thought it was going to be. This didn't satisfy you in
at all.
Your eyes, your eyeballs were like, oh no, this is just not good.
Me with everything that Disney has released that is Star Wars related.
Yeah.
That's with maybe the exception of the Clone Wars and bits and pieces of Bad Batch. I've only heard good things about the first couple of episodes for Andor, but I'm not holding my breath. I still think Disney's going to find some way to like fuck it all up like they did with the Marvel universe. No one's talking about Marvel as much as they used to anymore.
Definitely the Clone Wars was a high watermark for
oh god, yes,
for that series. And then the moment I saw Rebels, it's like, okay, nope, this is not good at all.
Well, there were several reasons why that happened. One was that they were trying to make a show that was more kid friendly, but again, your target audience is yeah,
there's war in the title.
Well, not only that, but your target audience is made of mostly adults.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I mean, mostly young adults, but just adults.
Yeah, everybody.
Because the Clone Wars was a show that any adult can get themselves invested into. Then me as an, slightly older but still younger adult, then watching Rebels for the first time, and after a few episodes, it's like, this does not cater to me because this is the kiddo sort of thing of
Yeah.
you've got pointless characters that don't need to be there. You got some really bad episode plots that just like, oh no.
That's life lessons.
Um,
Thank God, like, and unfortunately, they had 4 seasons worth of that
they,
stuff.
oh no, they had 4
They had
seasons.
4, and everybody's just like, why couldn't we get this in like in Clone War style animation? Like that would have maybe made it somewhat more tolerable.
Yeah.
Marvel has really started going downhill. Yeah, I would still go to see that. I wouldn't see them at all. Like if I'm gonna watch them, I'm gonna watch them on Disney Plus. I'm not giving Disney or Marvel any more money than I already have to. Like the only reason I still keep my Disney Plus is so that I can watch my Star Wars stuff, the ones that I actually do enjoy, and all the Marvel movies that we do like. Anything past Phase 3 is just not worth seeing anymore.
As far as what they're doing with Star Wars, in my opinion, I thought The Mandalorian was neat, but I don't know.
So many problems.
They're okay, so there are actually probably problems, but I thought it was neat, but I don't know too much about the whole lore of everything.
Yeah, it's a little complicated. Plus, one of the episodes really makes like the New Republic look far worse than the Galactic Empire. Because without vetting, like there's an episode. It's been a while since I've watched it, but there was like this tracking device they were
Yeah.
following that somebody just left on a space station, and instead of confirming if whether or not that tracking device was still in possession of the person they were after, they blew the entire fucking station up with people still on it. And you're like, oh no. This is the kind of shit that the Empire would do. You're supposed to be like the New Republic. How the fuck do you go and make them look so evil? It was bad.
Yeah, it's just they try to bring some interesting ideas, but it's not really. It's it's something new, but that doesn't make it good.
People are like just saying, if you guys wanted to write stories, just why not recanonize all like the stuff that used to be in Legends? Because those
Right.
stories were actually maybe not the best, but everybody like almost universally agrees that they like those stories more.
Mm-hmm.
And Disney just flat out lied and said we didn't really have much to work with. He's like, and it's just
You
like
got so many books.
I think of like that SpongeBob meme, where he's like
this.
He's like, and it's just like it's just like a caption. It's like video games, books, miniseries, and then it's like the entire old Republic. I honestly feel Disney ruined Star. Yeah, thank God.
Okay, so
I don't know about that. Star Trek has its moments of being bad too.
Star Trek.
Picard.
I mean, I like to think of myself as a Trekkie because I do enjoy Star Trek a lot. Yeah, the Abrams movies from 09 and forward. Sure, yeah, it's great eye candy. Sweet. I actually get to see a
more modern approach.
A more modern approach of Star Trek TOS or the original series, which I'm a total fan of. I really only watch the original series, The Next Generation, Voyager, and Deep Space Nine.
And then from Lower Decks,
I heard that's okay. But
we could. I don't know.
But that's really the period of Star Trek that I really tend to follow, and some of the movies.
You haven't seen like the new Picard show?
No. Or STD.
Yeah, a lot of people are. It's kind of like a mixed bag for a lot of people.
I heard Star Trek Discovery was a mess.
I forgot about Discovery.
And that's the only series I decided not to actually watch. I've seen Enterprise, but only once, and I don't need to again. But hey, it's still part of that. It's still when Roddenberry was still, I think, alive at that time. I don't know.
Was he Spock?
Roddenberry is the creator of. But after Roddenberry, after that point, that's kind of the cutoff point of when Star Trek was still good. Then after that, it's just all literally
shit.
It starts diving into the world of
corporate
shit. Yeah.
Like corporate sludge.
So then now you get a time splice between there's the canon timeline and then there's the Calvin timeline of suddenly in the 2009 movie, there's going back in time and whatnot with the Romulans and such, and then now they make a pretty peaceful Federation that's really meant to be, which I guess later on in the series became a little bit more militarized. But really, the Federation was solely just for exploration. They weren't trying to be militarized in any way. And then all of a sudden, which I think it's an interesting branch in time, that after the Calvin incident, the Federation became more militarized. That's a pretty fascinating branch of the two timelines of, oh yeah, you've got old Spock from the old timeline talking with a young Spock from the Kelvin timeline. I don't know. Yeah, Leonard Nimoy was becoming a bit annoyed of having to keep doing this, but you know what? His last appearance on Star Trek, I thought was pretty nice. It actually probably was a nice way to end his career as Spock. And gladly it just remained to that. But then of course he then passed away soon after, so
yeah, not
but
I don't know if that was like a good thing to leave your legacy on.
At least it was okay. It could have been a lot worse with Spock. It's just the Kelvin timeline has its problems. Like again, you've got the Wrath of Khan, where Spock gives his life to save the crew, whereas now in the Kelvin timeline movie of I forget the movie title. It's actually Kirk is the one that actually takes the place of Spock, and he sacrifices himself to save the ship. To which then now it's Spock acting on his Vulcan heritage of violence, because little do people actually know, Vulcans are a very violent people. It's just because of many centuries of warring, they had to become peaceful and become logical because, well, once you kill each other so many times, you don't learn from anything from that. You just simply say, hey, it's just probably time to calm down and be more peaceful. And then you see Vulcans in the original timeline being peaceful, being thoughtful, well, not thoughtful, but being logical with decision making and such like that. Then in Kelvin, Spock is able to indulge not only in his human attributes of emotion, but also in the violence of his Vulcan attributes. Hence, why going after Khan and almost literally beating his skull, even though that Khan is superhuman, with enough anger, a Vulcan is just pissed off. It's just pissed off.
So, do you think, in your opinion, Star Trek even be good without the original cast? Honestly, the cast part to some degree should not matter as long as the writing is solid.
Yeah,
you can still have good characters. Take the whole Star Wars example. People really wanted to know more about Finn. Finn was an interesting idea that they just decided to completely shelve in the second and third movie because they all wanted to make it about Rey. But nobody liked Rey because Rey was OP by the very first movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the negative energy surrounding those three movies is so bad. None of the actors or actresses that worked on those three movies ever want to talk about it.
Wow.
The guy who played Finn, he's just I don't want to talk about Star Wars. Don't want to talk about it.
Wow, damn.
Adam Driver, I think, tries to play what? What do you? Oh, yeah, and then
he actually does parodies on that on SNL. Especially the truncated pants which is mostly pants and small abs.
Those were actually the funniest thing.
Those were good
Like,
memes.
the undercover boss is like, "Oh, check it out! It's Kylo Ren's sword." He's like, "Now you can stop laughing about it because of it being an utter embarrassment," or something like that. That was the funniest shit. But yeah, like, because another good example, you could have like all the original characters from a series back in a show or a movie, and it ends up doing terrible. Jurassic World, like the final movie, brought back all the the most iconic characters from the very first film. It's still considered one of the worst Jurassic World movies.
Yeah, it really has a lot to do with just the way how the writing, the plot, and the direction and production of film or series or what have you. If none of that is good, high caliber actors don't really matter.
Yeah, they won't really save you.
It's much like bad movies that hire good actors. Even if they're a good actor, they're given a script to play out, and they're going to play it out to the letter because, well, I mean, if they were getting paid, it's like I'm getting paid
Yeah,
for
they're
this.
just they're only kind
Or
of
it's like Emoji Movie or whatever. Like I'm the poop emoji,
yeah.
but he was not impressed by it at all. In fact, he never talks about that movie because, like, I can't believe I was the poop emoji.
Unfortunately, a lot of people, like, you will rarely get that chance where there'll be like actors who are like not only like invested financially but like also personally invested into a lot of stuff. Like
Yeah.
Mark Hamill, great actor.
Very
May
good
not
actor.
necessarily like a lot of the things he has to say about certain people, but like, he invested a lot of his personal time and commitment to the role of Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
So when you see a lot of those interviews with him and Ryan Johnson, he did not like how his character was written because he said in a lot of those things, Luke would not do this. I know this because I am Luke.
That's
Luke
awesome.
does like,
That's awesome.
and I wish we had more people like that in this kind of field because
Just to
unfortunately,
tell producers, I'm not doing the script as this character, knowing that most of my life have been playing with this character to begin with. In fact, well, I mean, yeah,
it
we need more actors with brass balls to tell a director, no, this movie's awful. You should probably redo it before I even sign my name. Or, you know what? This movie is so bad. Reading the script, I will talk to my lawyer to get myself out of this contract because
Yep.
this is just awful. We need more actors to do that to get new, better movies. The only way that we get good quality content is if actors don't stay complacent that, oh, it's a paycheck. I don't care what it is so as long as I get paid. They're the ones who are going to be contributing to either a good movie or a bad movie. And these days, there's not many new ideas that producers can make, even though there are hundreds of great ideas to make new content, um, totally different franchises. Yet they won't go with that because, well, we're not too sure about this, so we're going to go with something that we know works.
or
But then we'll suck badly because now they're just running out of ideas, catching new thoughts out of the air to say, well, we can do this. And actors are like, well, I'm motivated by pay, so whatever, I'm going to do it. But not enough actors these days will just say, no, I don't think this character would even do such a thing.
you also get like oh shit, I completely lost my train of thought now. Fuck. Oh, this is gonna bug me now because I had it and then I lost it.
We were talking about Star Wars.
No, it was something else.
We were talking about Star Trek.
No, it was like writing. It had something to do with the writing part.
Telling producers to shove it.
No, it's just not coming.
Mm.
I guess I completely forgot it. I'm gonna one of these days just like rewatch this thing and it's like that's what I was trying to say.
Shit, that's what it was.
Oh, now I remember. Fucking Halo. Like you might get a show like the Halo show, which no Halo fan likes. almost every person that I know who is like so personally invested into Halo does not like the show at all, and somehow it's getting renewed for a second season. It's like, what?
That was obviously done by contract in a
Not that
in a committee meeting.
the worst part about it is that, and they're not the only company to do this. Other companies and like producing people will do this all the time, but like they'll market it and they'll pander towards like the audience that's familiar with the games and all the books. But then they'll like say, we want to write our own stories. Like, listen, this is not your personal pet project. This is fucking Halo. You want to write your own story? Write your own damn story outside of Halo.
Right.
Because people are expecting to see the kind of shit that they expect to see in Halo. Not what we saw in the show. Literally, Master Chief takes his helmet off the first episode. You're like, what? Like, his identity is like such a like heavily guarded secret. When people were like going through like the game files and stuff, doing no clip just to see that scene where he takes off his helmet in the very first game, it takes the helmet off and another helmet is there because they don't want you to see what he looks like. That's kind of like the whole
That's pretty cool.
like the mysterious aspect to his character. It makes like, I don't want to say sacred, but it's like one of those things that everybody kind of doesn't want to be fucked with, and then they're actively fucking it. And then they made him a literal cuck to a Covenant spy. It's like he would not get in bed with a Covenant spy. It's like, what are your thoughts on the new Mario movie? Well, considering that Nintendo, didn't they back this whole thing? So wasn't that like their whole shtick?
I'm not too familiar with Mario.
So they got a bunch of people. So the animation's actually pretty good, but a lot of the voices seem out of place to people. Chris Pratt, the guy who played Star-Lord in Guardians of the Galaxy,
Yeah.
and was also in Parks and Rec, he's now Mario.
And also the dude from Jurassic World.
Yep. So, and a lot of people were like, what is this place? And he's just like sounding like himself. And a lot of people are like, why don't you just hire the original voice actor from the games? Like your recent games. Like, yeah, Jack Black being Bowser is probably like the only good thing that I can say about it. Everybody is like saying, that's actually kind of interesting. We want to see more about this. that whole penguin thing where he's like throwing snowballs at them and they're like, do you yield? And he's like, I do not. In typical Jack Black fashion. It's like probably the only. Don't forget Jurassic Park movies. Yeah. But yeah.
I was thinking we could probably cut it off here.
Yeah, we could probably cut it off. I'm getting a little like thirsty again.
Yeah, and then I have friend come over, so
Friend come over.
Yay.
In how many more hours?
Apparently at 7.
Oh. Oh.
Yeah, they had just finally told me that. Oh yeah, well they're around 7. So.
Yeah, so I guess you definitely want to hit this off. We've been doing pretty good run.
2 hours and 30 minutes. That's actually pretty good. So
really,
yeah. We actually discussed quite a bit, given that we've been away for like 4 months. So
more than 4 months. Let's see, May, June, July, August.
So about roughly 4 or 5 months.
September.
Actually,
yeah, five months on the dot.
So,
yep. Have a good rest of your weekend, all.
Oh, yeah. And we might probably do another podcast with the cat on Sunday, depending on what he's doing. So we might just do another one before the convention.
Another one?
Yeah, we might do another one. There's also a lot of stuff that we might talk about too. So
are they staying the night?
My friend?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
you put your cell phone inside.
Hey.
Make it like an old timey sleepover.
You want to enter my pyramid? Camo.
Zelt.
Anyway, thank you everyone for tuning in to another episode of the Zooming Who's podcast. It's been a while. I've been wanting to do this for a bit. I miss doing this a bit. Gonna try to at least, pop on here and there, especially while the winter months are gonna get colder and colder, and there's not gonna be much to do outside. More likely, we're gonna be doing this a bit more often. So, and once again, thank you, Commander Wolf, for coming on to the show. It's been a while since we've seen you as well, so appreciate having the Wolf over to discuss things. So, anyway. I'm signing off. So this is another episode of Zooming Who's podcast. I'm your host, guest host, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
See you at a Quadifer.
And see everyone at a Quadifer. If you're going, say hi. Say hi to both of us. Ah.